Hi friends, let's take a look at LINK again, and we're going to be going to look at LINK versus Bitcoin, at LINK versus the dollar, as we always do in these episodes. And what's the story from compared to yesterday? Well, like I was kind of saying on Twitter, shout out to myself on Twitter at Rocky Outcrop if you want to follow me, whatever. Then you've got shout out to myself. Then you've got there's not much change really since yesterday in terms of the discussion and what we're looking at. Of course, we've had a little bit of price action in terms of sort of easy enough. Not easy enough, but we've had this sort of this price action here of 5%, where you could have sort of been trading within it. I'm not a financial advisor, none of this financial advice, but we are looking at this level here and at 370 and saying, you know, we need to be opening and closing up above here, a decent time frame candles. If we look down to the 4 hours, you can see that we've had some, but it's always just been rolled around afterwards, having got up above it. We need to actually open and close up above there, you know, without it being one of these reversal candles, and then and sustain ourselves up there, the link prices up there, and try and undo any sort of, well, there isn't bearish divergence here on these things. You know, that's convergent because this high is lower, but we need to we don't want this to be a convergent downwards, you know, trend, and without any, you know, with lows coming in here and it being a 4 hour downward trend looking down the way towards the 330 area again. But of course, that is a legitimate target to be had in terms of the bigger picture. Going back up to that again, the bigger picture higher lows, if you were to be looking down to that 330, of course that's fine, and you could be trading in this sort of range at the minute, and that really is the sort of the picture for us in terms of this high versus this high. Looking down here to the RSI, it's not divergent. Looking here on the stochastics, it isn't either. We've been doing a sort of score game thing today here. It is slightly on the DMI, so that's 2-1, and then it is as well slightly, I suppose, on the MACD, so that's 2 each on that sense. But you know, overall, we've got this upward, we have got upward trend, upward price action. That's good to see happening. And in terms of the moving averages, you know, we've got these crosses started to be in here. This could turn around quite soon. The 50 simple moving average and prevent this from coming in for a death cross. You know, you wouldn't want to see that crossing over to the downside. And when you look at the time, you know, that's left in order to do that, only have to go as far as what I believe it's the 1st of May, indeed, to take off all this higher price action from this 50 simple moving average, and then you're just looking at the lower price action than where we are right now. So that'd all be kind of good coming in there, sort of timing wise, looking at the sort of the moving into the next month phase. And if we did have a higher low coming in at any of these areas, even to be honest, as far down as sort of $3 and where the 21 is there at 15. 21 EMA, the yellow line, $3.15. You kind of be all right there on that front. There is diminishing volume as we've had this upward trend since we had the uptake in volume, since we had this upward rise in the price action. But you know, we've had to do various things since then to sort of validate this in general, like to achieve a higher low, for instance, which we're kind of looking at the minute as being 311. You know, given that the last low was down at 226, we needed to do that, and in the face of that, the volume diminishing. Okay, but we need to see things kind of turn around in terms of this downward trend in the volume at some point, and then start to sort of trend up the way again. That'd be nice. Don't want to see this coming down here and doing some sort of head and shoulders thing. Talk about these sort of things from time to time, but just a sort of general easy sort of reminder to throw out to the audience. You know, you don't want to see reversal patterns happening in areas where you've not really come in and made your higher highs yet on the daily time frame, and you could be looking at a turnaround to a weekly on the daily and the weekly, then into a downward trend, perhaps, if this became a lower high and we then were to go in and set a lower low in at 180, then things would be rubbish in that sense. So, you know, overall, we need to see that going up the way. In terms of the Bitcoin scenario, though, as we did speak about sorry for measuring nothing there. As we did speak about in the previous video as well, we were looking at this weekly here towards the end of the episode and asking questions. Can we come up here and actually manage to get this 786 retracement point here, for instance? You know, having gone above the 236 to invalidate that particular Fibonacci retracement, the ADI data, and up here where we have our other one at the minute, move on up the way and get a higher high on the weekly versus the Bitcoin prices and sustain this overall upward trend. And I think we have. And seeing that, you know, providing that the prices this week, you know, we're Monday at the minute, but if we have I don't say we think we have. I think we have this possibility to keep an eye out for this week, is if the prices can sustain themselves above that 50,000, 50,500 or so, wherever this previous weekly tops were, then that's good. At which case, of course, we have to then say, well, fair enough. If we need to sit in a higher low at this point, we can be comfortable enough with that happening, and the prices could actually go all the way back down to 33,333 to set that higher low in, which would be naff in the extreme. If we were to come up and do the sort of 786. Roughly, then you're looking at roughly 38,000, or where this 21 EMA is, and things like that are down to this 236 to try again at 38,000. No matter what way you cut it, that's a significant drop off in price. But this is this is what's going on at the minute. Just in terms of where we are right now, though, what we want to see is happening is at least this higher low coming in, this new high being set in here on the weekly time frame. That's what we want to see happening on the Bitcoin prices. Going back down to the 24-hour time frame, then you can see that demonstrated in terms of this. Just if this wants to consolidate for a wee while and create some sort of triangle here, that's fine if we let it do so for a wee while, just to catch a breath. If you want to have it like that, maybe even you've got some sort of other idea in mind. I don't know if you take it off, whatever. It doesn't really matter. That's pretty bad though. The point being just as simply, if we consolidate here, then crack through it, that's not so bad. It's okay consolidating it around a bit of support line of resistance and whatnot. But if we do go down, then it is quite bad in the sense that we've got in these lower highs in essentially. So these areas are fairly crucial that we're looking at in terms of these low 50,000s. But they don't have to rush to necessarily do it, which is why I was saying it's okay if we consolidate. Just don't want to see this trending down the way. If we do have to come down the way, then we can kind of sort of just discount this left side of this price action for just now and look to be putting in a higher low than 47,000, and in terms of this current sort of action, and be happy enough with that, but going down below that, you've got a couple of things operating at once, and actually it's not even 47,000 anymore. It's more like up there, and it's probably wick to wick in fact. So it's 48,000 is actually that point that we're looking at, and that makes more sense too with where the 618 is. So yep, that's great. Let's take a look again at this tomorrow, as we always do. Thanks so much for tuning in. Daily crypto technical analysis here from Rocky Outcrop. We're all Rocky Outcropticians together. Check out the other videos on the channel. We've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tezos coming up today for you as ever. And sometimes I do bonus coins, so you can let me know below in the comments if you want to see one of them. And yeah, I just really appreciate everybody tuning in and being part of the family. And as we grow the channel, it's absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate all the support and that I've got so far. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.